Is I think I actually don't. I will try to answer that because to the extent I know about other countries, I'm not an expert on what exactly happens everywhere else because I'm not really a political scientist. But if you look at a lot of it goes to back to the background of how parliaments evolved and the nature of the country. I mean, clearly Britain is the oldest parliament, and in fact, there is a two-volume book, wonderful two volumes, by a guy who is actually, I think, still a sitting MP in UK called Chris Bryant. It's called Parliament, a Biography. It's there on the shelf behind me. So it's, I mean, these books are like paperback, sub 500 per volume sort of a thing. They're not expensive books. So he traces, because I was curious about how did England do it. And England is a slow process over 1,000 years or 800 years. Magna Carta, where the Lords said that the king can't act on his own, he has to consult the Lords. That's about it. So essentially, there was a few feudal lords, and the king could not tax them unless they agreed to pay the tax, and he could not wage war on France unless they agreed to it. That's about it. That's all that Magna Carta did. But it removed the concept that the king is divine and is supreme. He needs to consult. So conceptually, it was a big jump. And over a period of time, that moved to, I mean, somewhere in the 14th century, they started giving representation to the merchants, and over because they started getting powerful, and knights and merchants, so the commons and lords started building up. And then of course England had its civil war, and after that, and slowly it took centuries to pull power out from the sovereign to parliament. And English parliament today, there's a core difference between UK parliament and Indian parliament. UK parliament conceptually is supreme in the nation. Indian parliament is subject to the Indian constitution. They are not supreme. So a law passed by UK parliament, period. That's it. A law passed by Indian parliament, if it violates the constitution, the Supreme Court strikes it down. So it's not supreme in that sense. The constitution of India is supreme. So there's a conceptual difference. Okay. So that is a sort of UK history, but they have a long history and they have pulled power and they are proud of that power. The other one is not a parliament, but an important model is the American one, which again was invented by them to balance, to ensure that power is not centralized. So very strong separation of powers between the legislature and the executive and the judiciary, very clearly mentioned out. And of course, a lot of it is in their context, because 18th century, when they wrote the constitution, all of the guys who were writing were rich landlords who were rich white landlords trying to protect their interests, naturally. But they also had wanted to ensure that the freedoms from the British king continued, etc. That's their context. Australia, Canada, New Zealand, etc. are essentially white Englishmen settled in those places who got independence and at the background. India is very, very different. All those countries, I mean, US today is getting a bit more diverse, but and in their whole thing, nobody has large diversity. India is large, huge population, huge diversity. In fact, if you look at the UK, population of UK is 7 crore, 6.8 crore or something. It is, forget Maharashtra, I think it is as much as the combined Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, or Tamil Nadu or something, or it's definitely smaller than West Bengal. That's their population. They have 650 members of parliament in the House of Commons. We have 140 crore and we have 550 MPs. And the reason for that is, if you do similar proportion, how many people can you actually have in a room who can actually discuss? There's a limit. If you have 3,000 like China, then you'll become like China. It's a rubber stamp. So there is always a limit. So our parliamentary constituencies will be large by population simply because we have a numerator which is a large population and a denominator which is limited by number of people you can have in a parliament who can discuss. So A by B will be large. Okay. So we don't have a choice. So we should actually think of, and the way I would actually think of solving this problem is to reduce the power of parliament and increase the power of state assemblies and get more federal. And that is actually part of the constitutional scheme of things. It has got centralized more than what I think the original constitutional imagination was. But decentralize, do more states, because our states What works for Tamil Nadu will not work for Himachal Pradesh or for Bengal. I mean, they are very different places. So let the local state people elect theirs and decide what is appropriate for them.